Well, guys, it turns out the Leafs late game heroics a couple nights ago did nothing but delay the inevitable as they were eliminated by the Columbus Blue Jackets tonight 3-0. So essentially, if it wasn't for those last 5 minutes, the Game 5 score would have been the exact same as the Game 4 score. So we now actually know the 8 teams are going to be a part of the Lafreniere Lottery. I know it's called Phase 2, but with the first pick being the only one on the line, I think my name makes a lot more sense. So I actually put out a tweet kind of just giving my best and worst case scenarios for which team could win the lottery tomorrow, and it actually got like a lot of good feedback and a lot of discussion going on, so I figured why not make a video about it to kind of give you guys my thoughts and hear what you think about potential scenarios for Lafreniere's landing spot before the draft lottery goes down tomorrow. So starting off, guys, at number 8 I have the Toronto Maple Leafs, obviously the last team here to be eliminated from the qualifying round. Now I think, you know, there are other teams on this list that are better than Toronto Maple Leafs, have had more success than the Toronto Maple Leafs, but the Toronto Maple Leafs probably have the best young core. You got Matthews, Marner, Nylander. Tavares isn't really that old. You got Riley on defense. Anderson really isn't that old. And I think another big thing, too, with the Maple Leafs, if they were to win Lafreniere, is just the Toronto media would be so unbearable. I live in Windsor, Ontario, so I'm like 4 hours away. That's mostly all the sports media I get, and they'd be talking about it non-stop. Should they trade the pick, which would be the dumbest thing they could possibly do? Who do they trade to make room for Lafreniere, Marner, Nylander? All kinds of dumb stuff would be happening, and it would just be unbearable. So definitely, in terms of like whole scope, worst case scenario, Toronto wins first overall against Lafreniere. Next up, I have the Pittsburgh Penguins as the next worst case scenario. Reason being, they've already had so much success. Back-to-back cups, 2016, 2017, wasn't that long ago. And obviously, they won another cup in 2009, beating my Detroit Red Wings. So I feel like they've had their success. Also, too, Crosby and Malkin still have at least a few years left. I saw this picture with Lafreniere, Crosby, and Malkin, and I definitely would not want to see that. But like I mentioned, I think this picture here of Crosby holding the Stanley Cup is a bit more of a reason why I don't want Lafreniere there than just, you know, having a stacked line with those 3 superstars. And speaking of superstars, you then have the Edmonton Oilers. Obviously, if they got him, they could run a line of Lafreniere, McDavid, Draisaitl, which would be pretty much unstoppable, but they would still lack depth, which they've kind of had this season. Defensively, they have really no number 1 defenseman, but I do think their depth's okay, and then goaltending I think would still be a huge issue for them. Now, a lot of people obviously do not want him to go to Edmonton, as it'd be their 5th first overall pick in the last 10 years, so basically every other year Edmonton's picking first overall. The thing is, they have nothing to show for it. Like, Taylor Hall was a good player, but never made the playoffs with Edmonton. Nuge, decent player, definitely not a franchise-changing player or anything. Yakupov, one of the biggest busts of all time, and then of course Connor McDavid, probably the best first overall pick since, you know, Sidney Crosby. So that one definitely was a good one, but like the Nuge one, the Yakupov one, I don't know, they just don't mean a lot to me, and I feel like I'd rather him go to Edmonton, who has struggled, than Pittsburgh, who's won 3 cups, and like I said, Toronto would just be the media I couldn't handle. After that, I actually have the New York Rangers at number 5. Reason being, they have Panarin, who's a Hart nominee this year, an absolute superstar. Like, I thought he was already playing his best hockey in Columbus, somehow found another level in New York. Also, they got lucky and jumped up to number 2 last year, getting Capo Caco, so I feel like, you know, that'd just be a bit too much in my opinion. I feel like they've had their luck. Give it to somebody else. Next up, we have the Nashville Predators. A lot of people wouldn't mind him going to Nashville. Neither would I, really. I had them number 4. Definitely, like, the difference between 4 and 5 is the biggest there in terms of all the teams. Like, you have the top 4, which aren't too bad, and then the bottom 4, which no one really wants to happen. Obviously, though, Nashville made the Stanley Cup Final 2017, so again, they've had some success. Even this year, like, they're a bubble team. I think they probably would have made the playoffs, honestly, if we finished the 82-game season. So Nashville wouldn't be the worst thing, wouldn't be the best thing. Just kind of like an average spot for him to go, so it'll probably be where he goes. Then at number 3, I have the Florida Panthers. Panthers are another like bubble team this year. Honestly, I feel bad for any Panthers fans watching this. The main reason I don't want Lafreniere in Florida is because I feel like if he goes there, we'll just never hear anything about him. Like, I'm sure he'll produce and play well, similar to Barkov and Huberdeau, but you never hear anything about those guys. That's why for so long, Barkov was considered the number 1 underrated player in the NHL, just because he played in Florida, so he never got recognized. I think the same thing would kind of happen to Lafreniere. Now, the next 2 here, this is a tough one for me. Winnipeg, Minnesota, I feel like are very close for like kind of where's the best case scenario for Lafreniere to go. Now, I went with Minnesota as the 2nd choice. Now, the reason I have them so high is because they're literally the definition of average. Every single year, they either just make the playoffs or just miss. So never bad enough to get that top pick, but never good enough to make that Stanley Cup push. So obviously, they're a team that really could use a superstar like Lafreniere. And I think both these teams, too, already have established fan bases who are diehards. Both teams, Winnipeg and Minnesota, really don't have much else going on there aside from hockey. So I feel like these fan bases would love that first overall pick. And the reason I think Winnipeg gets a slight edge on Minnesota is because they've also been pretty average, although they have had a bit more success in recent years. As a whole, looking at both franchises, I feel like Winnipeg struggled a lot more, especially if you consider the fact that they used to be the Atlanta Thrashers. If you guys don't know this, the Atlanta Thrashers only made the playoffs once in their entire existence, and they never won a playoff game. The one time they made it, they got swept by the New York Rangers 4-0. So I mean, that kind of hurts. Now, obviously, they're the Winnipeg Jets now, but it's still like the same franchise. And even the Jets haven't made it outside the first round aside from one time, which was 2017. They made it to the conference final, lost the Vegas Golden Knights. So I feel like in terms of mediocrity and everything, like who's had a tougher road, it's pretty similar, honestly, between Winnipeg and Minnesota. Now, in my opinion, Winnipeg does have the better team right now. I think they have the better goalie in Hellebuck. Defense, they're definitely worse than Minnesota. Offense, though, a lot better. Of course, you got superstars like Scheifele, Laine, Wheeler, some other really good players, Connor, Ehlers. So they definitely have the better and younger team right now. But I think the reason I have Winnipeg number 1 is just because they are a Canadian team. I got a little bit of soft spot for Winnipeg, being the old Thrasher franchise, now a Canadian team. That's kind of just why I give Winnipeg the slight edge there on where I'd like Lafreniere to end up. But I don't know, guys. That's just kind of my thoughts. Again, definitely the top 4. If it happens, I'm not really too bothered. Bottom 4, I'm going to be pretty upset. So I figured why not take a run to sim here. We'll do it once. I haven't touched it. If you guys are wondering, it shows Minnesota there. That's just a placeholder. If I refresh, it's the same thing. Again, they're just there for the placeholder. So we'll sim the lottery here. All 8 teams can win the lottery. Obviously, Toronto doesn't have their first round pick unless it gets first overall. Same with Pittsburgh. Actually, I think Pittsburgh's, if it's top 15, which it is, they can hold on to. So I'll be curious to see whether or not they do. Definitely a good thing for those 2 teams that they had conditions in those trades. But without further ado, guys, we'll see where Lafreniere ends up. Florida Panthers. So yeah, I mean, I'm not too upset. It's just, I mean, if he goes to Florida, we're never going to hear about him again. So that would definitely be an interesting scenario for him to end up there. But like I said, guys, in the comment section, let me know which team you think would be the best case scenario for Lafreniere to end up and which one you think would be the worst. Very curious to see what you guys had to say. Also, guys, if you enjoyed this video, leave a thumbs up. I know it's a lot more of a casual video, basically just me talking to the camera, but if you enjoyed this type of thing, let me know. Also, guys, before I forget, I should be streaming my live reaction to Phase 2 of the Draft Lottery tomorrow on YouTube, so make sure to stay tuned for that. And as always, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do that. Have a nice day, guys. Goodbye.